It seems my heart just wants to keep sharing. So I have a written journal from the 16th, the first one of that day, and the Mayan day was 10 offering or water. It's a bit bizarre. Can an atom feel? Escorting you to your inner throne. I don't know where this is going. I'm just going to try something out here. I enjoy science or aspects of it and was watching a show about fusion, cold fusion, this time using sound. Anyway, as they were discussing the previous cold fusion failure, and was it really that? Did the observation problem get taken sufficiently into account? In other words, the scientists who believed that they would get the result got one result, and the scientists who believed they wouldn't got another. But anyway, the typical way to produce fusion was under discussion, slamming atoms together with tremendous force. And I got to wondering, what do the atoms think about that? Now, hey, everything is conscious, is sentient in some way. Do you at least allow that? I do. So if you don't, this might not be the journal for you, because that's the foundation. Anyway, what about atoms? Who among us has channeled an atom's perspective on anything? That would be interesting. God, making that connection would be interesting. There is so much that mankind does that is so very unthinking as to qualify for being unconscious, at least of the higher part of our being. We're not used to functioning there. This being stuck in left brain mode has definite drawbacks, and this is one. It's a terrible arrogance that does such things without so much as a by your leave of the beings involved in it, be they animals, atoms, or people. Now, we know we want animal testing to stop. We know we want to see the planet itself so much better treated than she is in today's world. Well, what's stopping us from taking this down to the level of atoms? Now, maybe cells or molecules would be more reasonable to open conversation with. I don't know. They're at least easier to see without such pricey equipment. Still, the basic point is to inquire of whatever level of consciousness or sentience is there to see what its views might be. Now, this is not so strange as it sounds at first. Do please consider the great work done that inescapably proves that plants are sentient beings and that they communicate too. The secret life of plant is decades old now, so the idea isn't new to inquire of the elements of nature to see what they might have to say. I'm sure I'm not the first one to have a visceral objection to the whole idea behind an atom smasher. It's barbaric, isn't it? I mean, think of it. Those are little beings they're doing that to. They're just as innocent as any animal trapped in a lab having horrible things done to it. No doubt, I've triggered many whose shock that anyone would think along these lines make them want to call me a kook. Well, okay, that's fine. They may be right. Time will tell. Meanwhile, though, I'm having fun. How about you? Is your life so fun? Now, if you were an atom, would you want science getting a hold of you and doing such things? Come on, admit it. You have some gut response that says not only no, but hell no, I wouldn't. Leave me alone. Well, what are the chances that this could be the atoms themselves responding? Come on, set the mind aside, give it a shot. In a world, a whole cosmos where anything is possible, this is not really so far-fetched. If it's sentient, it can respond. It is aware. Now, the trick is to even speak of this reasonably, since we can't very well ask an atom what it thinks, since as far as we know, it doesn't have a brain or emanate thought waves. Still, if it is sentient, then there is something there with which we can in some way connect. No limits, remember? All limits are false. Plants don't have brains either, but they respond. Now, sure, I know I'm way out there at this point. Proving anything I discovered would be more than tricky, maybe even ludicrous, but what the heck, huh? Why let others dictate to us what can and can't be? Time itself seems to have gone a bit whack of late, and maybe that'll work in our favor here somehow. Heck, I don't know. But yes, at least I'm laughing too. It just seems to me that were the atoms addressed and consulted about what we're trying to do with them, they themselves might have better solutions for us. I mean, consider that it really is in their best interest to help us do this some other way, to stop all their brethren from being smashed and shattered like that. Why wouldn't they cooperate, right? I know, I'm anthropomorphizing, but anyway, here's the sad bit. Science, along with some ET ideas and support, has long ago developed free energy. Heck, even Nikola Tesla did that early in the last century. So those of us who've done the research know it is already done. They have cold fusion too. It's the money structure of power on the earth that keeps it from us. So it's pretty sad that we're doing all these smashing experiments to discover something that doesn't need discovering. Oh well, it is what it is. And I like to remind myself of that whenever things get too crazy or bizarre or too darn sad. Sure, it's nuts, but it's also just the way it is. Fighting with reality never won anything worth having, so it's best not to go down that road. Just let it be. Let us also remember that all the problems, if such they can be called, are within us. We project this world as it is, you know. Once we get to the point where we're taking ownership, even of the Illuminati and the crazy way they run things, we'll really be moving along toward resolution. In my opinion, of course. That's part of taking back our power, which we've dished out to every Tom, Dick, and Harriet who came along requesting a slice of it. Now, we were well trained and schooled to be like that, but those days are gone now. Many, many people are waking up daily. That's my take on things. 100th monkey effect, look out, we're on your tail. All of what needs changing, my friends, is in your head, so to speak. Not in your heart. Your heart's perfect. Not literally, but it's in our minds. That's where our 3D reality is generated by thought. Now there's more to it, layers and levels, because of course there's also the collective mind. Clearly, on some level, we've all made agreements that things should be or function in a certain way for a time. So there's not only your mind, but groups have minds too. Then there's the overall collective or mass mind. So we have many layers of mind at work here, but it's still all mind. Then When we add in the four aspects of mind, unconscious, subconscious, conscious, and superconscious, well, we've got quite a monster, or a potential one, on our hands. So, what now? Indeed, what now? Well, you know me. I say, go to heart. I say, wake up. Once we all awaken to the fact that we're projecting the world together this way, well, then we can take back control of it. That power and control that at this point we've still vested in all those Toms, Dicks, and Harriets out there. By training and programming us the way it was done, we were kept away from the secret that we had any power at all, much less how to use it. And as long as we continue to harbor such thoughts, I'm going to break here. Okay, so where were I? Okay, as long as we continue to harbor such thoughts and beliefs that we're powerless, that's how things will stay. They can't change until we do. And as long as we're focused on the outer world, change will not come. We're medicating the mirror. Pretty useless. You'd think we'd wake up, wouldn't you? Well, we are. So maybe it's worked. Who knows? Maybe there is some grand design in back of things, even using the Illuminati or the powers that were to do its dirty work for it. Why would that be? Well, the dirty work needed to be done. Clearly, Source had used the feather, the ruler, and the 2x4 to get our attention, to wake us up. It wasn't working, so bring on the railroad tie. Bring on the powers that were and turn them loose. That should do it, said Source. Well, maybe. Who knows? Bottom line, it doesn't matter. What matters is what's before us and what to do about that. We have literally thousands of years during which we were told by various saints and sages that, hey, the kingdom is within. Now, how much good did it do? How many ways did they find to say the same thing, and still the huge bulk of us didn't turn inward? What a piece of work we must have been for Prime Creator, huh? Getting us to simply wake up. Now, I can't say I've much of a clue about why so many of us are waking up now. It doesn't matter so much anyway. It's happening, and we can darn well take advantage of the fact. We can go with the flow, get out in the middle of this stream. People are able to hear so many things so much better than ever before. The go within message has a real chance of getting through now. The thing to do, though, is not to try to save anyone else. Leave the world alone for now. We're not quite ready for that. We've got to get through to the self first. Once we do that, we'll be connected up with the higher self. And we can let that one do the driving for us. That's the whole being danced thing. And actually, it works rather nicely overall. I highly recommend it. It's just that until we can each get the self unglued from the mind, there are entirely too many voices going off inside, clamoring for attention. And that just won't do. How to pick out Source's voice amidst the din. So you see, we're not at all ready to head out to do anything externally. We've got this inner kingdom to find and our empty throne to inhabit before any such thing. What a crazy journal this one is. Oh, well, it is what it is, she says, and goes on. Okay, how find the silence midst the cacophony. Oh, that would be a neat trick, wouldn't it? Hey, don't look at me. They're your voices after all, said as she chuckles. Now, let's get serious about this. What next? Oh dear. That's the mind at work, isn't it? Mind is always wanting to know what to do next. Sure sign of mind? The word do. Oh well, we'll watch and observe it and move on. Parenthetically, and thus you get to hear some of my voices. Okay. The thing is, we've got to get to the inside of things. Just like the atom smasher stuff, such behavior is definitely coming at life from the outside, from the mind angle. Time to dive down into heart, into the now, and get a new perspective overall. Are you game? Are you ready? Because if it's only the mind that says yes, that's not enough. I promise you, mind will chicken out really soon. Just saying. I talk about beliefs a lot and what power there is in changing them. And that's a big part of taking back power and control. It's attitudes that must change. We can't be walking around like worthless wimps, doing just as we're told all of the time. And we've internalized the inner general or cop there. We need to be willing to start writing outside at least some of the lines. Are you game? How is the idea sitting with you that you deserve joy? Is that a belief you feel you can adopt? It will bring big changes, but you've really got to buy into it, you know? We've got to come to a deeper point inside than the mind. Call it your gut or your heart or even the soul. It doesn't matter the word you use, just so you go deep for this acceptance. Remember, this path is highly challenging to mind's dominance over your life. It scares the socks off of mind. So if your acceptance resides only at the mind level, you won't stay the course. I promise you won't. Go deeper. It's time we get to know the self anyway. We don't even begin to know who and what we are to plumb our depths. We've been trained out of any kind of self-knowledge or self-focus, self-inquiry, being filled instead with every sort of lie that would point us any other direction but that one. So this meeting the self thing will hold surprises. How could it be otherwise? So be prepared to be shocked now and then. When you look deep inside, do you see determination to do this thing? Do you really want to wake up? What if it's not so easy? Will you wimp out on yourself? Are you worried about that? You'll be sitting with some mighty uncomfortable energy along the way. Feelings you've only fought or run from in the past. Are you up for it? Sure, there are fruits to this, but it's no airy-fairy, easy undertaking either. And it helps to know that going in. Not necessary, but helpful. The biggest thing you've got to find when you look in there is determination. Nisargadatta often calls it earnestness, being earnest. If you have that, you'll do fine, period. Really. See, you only think you have that. That has you. And the fact that you see that earnestness there, that's the answer to it. That's the doing that's happening. Anyway, see, you don't yet know the God being, little g, you truly are. it's best not to put words or labels on that because it can't be spoken or labeled. Still, to start out with, just to get the general idea, those words can be useful for a while, the God being you are. The reality is that your inner being truly is divine. No sage that I know of would argue this point. You're no wuss, and that's a fact. You're more of a god than a mouse. With man, there's a portal straight into the heart of, within man, there's a portal straight into the heart of every atom in existence. Now, why did I say within? Well, everything's inside. I guess that's why. You can either say you contain that, the whole of cosmos, or that heart is a portal into it. It amounts to the same thing. If you just don't get lost in the words, that would be mine doing that. Nitpicking. Like Eckhart says, words just point. They're nothing in themselves. We'll love it when we get to the silence part, but for now, we use words. Now, we all know on some level that we've been terribly lied to. It's mostly not been by the people that we deal directly with. They've been lied to and manipulated as well, and they often do the worst things, thinking they do us service with all sincerity. It's all messed up that way, but the main point is that by now, we've recognized that the world is largely made up of lies and deceit. And it's important that we be able to see this. If we can't, our eyes aren't open enough to go on. For those who don't yet see this, who don't yet see that the words conspiracy theorist are specifically designed to make fun of anyone finding any part of truth, then you've got some research to do and some shifting around of your internal furniture. But before you do, you've got to research yourself. You've got to find out what's behind the blinders you're wearing there. It's not like the news isn't out there, isn't available, and it has been for decades, not just years. Now, this kind of work takes real guts. And we don't do it for a long time because our beliefs are in the way. If you don't think you're being lied to, you won't see it. What you'll uncover is fear, your own. There are a whole host of challenging feelings we each get to deal with as we wake up to what is. And it's frankly devastating at some point, and even often. We get depressed, we get raging angry, we get pretty much everything in between these. And these feelings have to be allowed, accepted. That's what takes courage. Ultimately, though, it just takes sitting with the feelings, feeling them, welcoming them, allowing them just to be. The fact is that they do exist in you, so just acknowledging that is the first step that so many never get around to. Then learn to sit non-judgmentally in the midst of them. Let them get huge. Figure out your worst case scenario for whatever it is and make peace with that. Accept it. Realize that you could deal with that. You're eternal and you can't be hurt by this or anything. Nothing can hurt you. It really can't. And if you aren't to this point yet, then I diagnose that you're still identified with your mind or your form or 3D. You haven't yet backed off enough and experienced the greater or other portions of your own being to know that you are not the body, not the mind. it may be time to work through that, or at least sit with it. Once you know for a fact deep inside that you can't be hurt by anything, even death, death is really a joke, it's a birth. You're ready to face any fear, any emotion at all. You finally know you're their equal and then some. You're on your way now to taking your power back. In the kingdom of heart is a throne, and your own inner or higher self sits there and reigns. Identify with that one. That one is you, my friend. And you're making contact with that, capital T. And soon, if not already, you will know this is so. It won't be just words on a page or in a video. These words will echo within, and you will know. Don't know what that was. It's experimental. Excuse me, it's experiential, not mental. Maybe it's experimental too. If you don't know this yet, it isn't far off. Hang in there. Stay the course. It's really so. The main trick during this waking up process is not to be taken over by ego or mind. Same thing. There is a solid humility that is simply a quality of heart. It's not something you need to develop or find or whatever. It's something that's just there. It's one of the signs that you're moving along. So, on the one hand, you become aware of your nothingness, your true emptiness. And this is a great revelation. It often comes with both sadness and a lot of laughter, and sometimes simultaneously. It can creep up on you quietly, though. So don't hold any expectations about how things should be, how it should manifest. Get rid of the word should altogether. It's a nonsense word. There is no should, just is. So, you are both quite humble, yet also divine. Go figure, huh? Mine doesn't get this in any way, but you do. You will. Again, it's experiential. You'll just know from your own experience. Get used to paradox. Make friends with it. When it appears, you may know that wisdom herself is not far off. Be alert. We contain the seeming opposites. We really do. Find the point of balance within them, between them. That's the way of wisdom for me. You will know by these qualities, the divinity and the humility, and other ones as well, that you're in heart space. Soon you'll have the sense of it, so you won't wonder anymore. Watch and learn that it's only mind that does this inquiring, this wondering, this endless questioning. You will just know things. You'll find yourself more and more present within each moment. You'll be amazed by what you observe in yourself and by what comes of it. Intuition will be growing stronger, or be making its early appearances in your life. You have an inner teacher, also divine, that you'll begin hearing in the guidance that just seems to pop up into your awareness. No, you likely didn't think that up, whatever it is. Be alert. You'll find yourself more and more connected with life, with the beings, the things that comprise it. Things will sort of grab you by the heart. It will touch you deeply, more and more. You'll find tears flowing. The emotions sensitize as you're awakening. You'll feel things much more deeply than maybe you're used to. Well, get used to it. This will be the new way for you. So get comfortable with your emotions. They connect you to God, to Source. They're vitally important. So don't stuff or ignore your feelings. Not so smart to do that. Okay, I've gone on long enough. Let me close with just a few words on not judging yourself, most of all. You'll be more observant and more open to what you find. That's part of this ride, and there will be many times when you'll be tempted to judge or self-criticize. Just watch this tendency. Simply observe it. So you're judging yourself. Well, okay, that's what is happening there. Don't judge yourself for judging yourself. Just watch. Do you get it? See, the whole idea with this watching stuff is not to interfere, not to tamper or tinker at all. You've got to, at some point, be able to simply watch and not judge and not do anything at all. Just let it happen while you watch. As you keep watching, soon you'll be able to see that it's always, I mean always, mind doing the judging, the criticizing, and all of that. Just keep watching. And still don't do anything about it. And by that I mean don't try to change. Now, who among you are woman enough, man enough to hear that? Don't try to change. We're shifting gears here. That's the old way. Do you see yet? Why not? Come on, pause a moment and consider. Why should you not try to change? Any idea? Well, as you're watching, you've observed, or you will, that it's mind coming in with criticism and judgment. Once you see that, you'll know it's mind that has all the ideas about how to improve you. Now, look around at the world and see the house that Jack, the mind, has built. Is that what you want in charge of you? If you fall prey to mind's attempts to improve you, you'll fail at this. You've taken a detour there, gone off the main highway home. Mind is absolutely not qualified for this work. This is the work of the inner divine one, the work of heart. Mind must eventually learn to desist, to stand down, to knuckle under to heart, to make friends with that. And eventually, mind does this willingly, gladly, but don't expect that at first. You're spunkier than that. Your mind will fight. No, mind's chattering is to be ignored. You'll use mind when you need to, but most of the time you don't, so it can just safely be ignored. It does its work. It doesn't need to be supervised. You stay still, still and silent, observing within. That's your job for the foreseeable future, watching, nothing more. You don't move until the elephant steps on your toes. Then you move. You don't move until you're danced, in other words. Soon, very soon, it will happen. You'll have your first experience where you were actually watching yourself do or say something that didn't pass through the mind at all first. It just seemingly happened. It's a marvel, I can tell you, a very strange yet delightful experience. Why delightful? Because it's the divine at work, I guess. I don't know. The things that come to you this way have the mark of the divine on them, what I call the thumbprint of God. Now, do be on watch for ego. This very spot is where so many take yet another detour and go off the royal road home. This is where we find the spiritual egos. We have all either met or watched the videos of some of them, and they are sort of innocent in what they're doing in this way. They simply don't know that they're running on ego. They are quite self-convinced that it's the Divine One acting through them. As we see these things in others, let's do watch for them in self. Stick to that humility, to the emptiness you find there. Trust in that. Wait for the elephant to step on your foot. Don't try to save anyone. Don't go off doing things that seem like a good idea. You're likely just medicating pimples on mirrors anyway. Please know that I'm a bit uncomfortable about such stuff as this journal coming through me. I sit here watching it come through, and I do have a moment of pause now and then. I don't much like sounding like I know so well what I'm talking about. I'll confess to you that I don't know much of anything. I just trust in the flow. So I've had to surrender the possibility that I'm a real fool here, one of those spiritual egos myself. I just keep watch, appreciating the humility that lets me do my best to stay out of the way of it. If it's good, then it will bless. If it's not, then it won't be long and I shall know. Source has ways of communicating such things, communicating anything really to us. So in the end, it's so often a matter of trust. That's the big thing there. To trust in Source, in higher self, is one thing, and it's totally important and necessary. Just as important, though, is pulling our trust and loyalty out of things and people in the world where we've vested them. And that one is quite hard. You'll find yourself often enough in tears as Source shows you yet again where you trusted wrongly. Falsely. What is false trust? It's trust placed in anyone, anything that is not either your own higher divine self or Source. Period. Even a guru, a relationship, a club or organization, a political party, an author, a best friend, the list is endless. Your mother, your child. You won't know when the last one is uncovered, as there are layers and layers of things we've unwittingly vested trust in. And it hurts to see that we've done that, and it's hard to pull away. It makes you feel so alone, so unsure of yourself for a bit. But you're strengthening. You're taking your power back. Okay, enough already. It seems this flow would go on and on all night if I'd let it, so I'm going to call a halt here and wish you all well and just say good night.